Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the new version of Serene Doctor's Sunday Wellbeing Zoom sessions. And today's session, which is on income protection with our lovely friend Joe Lawrence, is to support the World Culture Festival, which is going to happen end of this month, September 23, in Washington, D.C. Not for the first time, but for the fourth time to my knowledge, and much bigger event. It's all about mental health and climate change, which is the bigger agenda. Of course, a lot of culture activities will happen. And we all know that to enjoy such festivals, we need to protect ourselves, our finances, our lives, our family, and to be able to face that uncertainty and to remain unshakable during such times, we should have the right protection well in advance. So, to help our mind from uncertainty, we practice things in our inner space, which the World Cultural Festival is going to promote in Washington, D.C., where people from all over the world are coming, including some very prominent uh, celebrities as well as leaders like prime ministers, presidents of various countries. And on the same time, to help our financial well-being in uncertain times, we need to know what we should have well in hand before the storm arrives. So, with on that note, I will now hand it over to Joe Lawrence, who is going to speak about income protection, which he promotes as an affiliate of LifeSearch, which is one of the top companies in the UK. And he will share a case study as well, actually, my case study. And of course, we will have a very interactive, happy session to learn and take home things which you may find of benefit for which you all have come. So, thank you all of you again to join us, and over to you, Joe.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you for that, Vivek. So yeah, as Vivek said, I work for or work with LifeSearch. Some of you may already be aware of LifeSearch. We've been around now for about 25 years. But yeah, we offer specialist advice on all types of protection. We have done a presentation with Serene in the past for things like life insurance and critical illness and the the whole works. But me and Vivek and I wanted to design a kind of presentation which was a lot more interactive today, specifically looking at income protection. I know a lot of people eyes roll when they hear the word insurance, especially a PowerPoint ad insurance. I know I would, especially on a Sunday. But this is meant to be I would say, a short, snappy session, interactive. So feel free to unmute yourself, shout things out, whatever you want to do. But it's not to kind of necessarily tell you loads about how income protection works, because that is different from one person to the other. This is more about kind of why you might want to review your insurance. And a lot of this, as I've been designing this session, a lot of it overlaps to other types of insurance as well. Education about just because you've had one insurer, or just because you've had your car insurance, or just because you've searched through this aggregator site for the last 10 years. I think it is good to kind of shop around and make sure that you are keeping up to date. Just because Aviva was good, 10 years ago, doesn't necessarily mean they're good now for you. So yeah, I do think, even though this is just for income protection, the whole motive behind this PowerPoint, I think you can take a lot from for other insurances as well. So the first thing is the income protection. Spare me a second. Just check I got this on. Good old PowerPoint. So first of all, like I said a couple of seconds ago, I'm not going to go through the complete components of income protection, but just to give you an overview for those that maybe don't have it. I'm assuming there's only a couple on here. Has everybody got income protection?
I don't have.
I do.
You do. That you couldn't have scripted it. One person does, one person doesn't. Brilliant. That's a perfect scenario when I was designing this. So yeah, for those that do have it, this is going to be completely relatable to you. But even those that don't, and maybe looking at using this to think, do I need income protection? It will also tick those boxes as well. It's designed for both. But quintessentially, what an income protection policy does in the life insurance or income protection dictionary is it pays out a regular income if you can't work because of sickness or disability. Okay, so that is what income protection does, whether you get it through us, whether you get it, you've got it already, that is the definition behind it. Is that what everyone is that Vijay, is that what you, when you bought your policy, is it a recent plan you've got, or is it from, do you mind sharing that? Is it an old plan? Like whereabouts are you at with your income protection journey?
It's about 3 years old, 4
Yep.
years old. And I took it out because I'm getting older and I have dependents and one never knows.
Yeah. And do you mind sharing who's it with? Do you know who it's with?
Not at all. It's with PG Mutual.
Yeah.
They were a very good company when I looked. They were set up initially for doctors and dentists, I believe, and that's what drew me to them. Yeah, I mean, it provided the cover that I was looking for. And it must have been the most competitive or one of the best for other reasons at that time, which is why I took it out.
Well, on the next slide, this is going to meet what you just said there with kind of reasons or issues that we may see as advisors. So like I said, I do these things in the evenings and the weekends, speaking to people like yourself, but my main role is giving advice. That's what I do Monday to Friday. And I've been doing it for 10 years and literally seeing every type of client come through the doors. And these are just some of the common issues, specifically on income protection, that we see when we review cover. The first one being the premiums are not fixed. Okay, so people think that that's just normal. They'll just go up every year. Either it wasn't proposed to them properly at the start, they just ticked a box on, when they were doing the quote on the insurer's website, whatever that may be. But that is surprisingly a massive issue that we see, because as you get older, you almost lose that luxury of being able to ring up and shop around when it comes to income protection. It's got a worryingly low age of entry. So what we mean by that is when you get past like 58, 59, you actually can't, with the majority of the insurers, bar one, buy insurance again. With income protection insurance, again, it limits the age, which is worrying to say we are all working longer and we are naturally getting healthier. So like I said, if your premiums are going up, Vijay, I'm not sure if yours do. Maybe if you've had it a couple of years, you're not even experienced these. Sometimes they go up every 4 to 5 years. They can go down, but very rarely do. And there's also other reasons why it might go up each year, but some people prefer the premium just to stay the same. Some advisors might say that's not a good thing, but that's your choice. Some people like to have it fixed, some people don't. But the majority of policies that we do at LifeSearch are all on guaranteed rate premiums. So that means that the rates are fixed for the life of the plan. The other issue is, this probably won't be applicable to you, Vijay, because it's quite a recent plan, but a lot of people have cover which doesn't meet their current bills. Like, I know from my own experience how much my bills are now to what they were 4 or 5 years ago. Mortgage payments have gone up massively, childcare fees going up, all this fuel, you don't need me to tell you that. But you've set an income protection policy up in 2014-15, and it's not going to potentially pay out enough. Worth checking out, definitely. This is a really good one for you doctors and surgeons specifically. So income protection should cover you for doing your own job. Shouldn't be a compromise, no matter what your job is. So for example, a surgeon is an example I use. Even with non-doctors, I actually use this as an example. It's like a training example. But let's say, for example, that you're a surgeon and you rely heavily on your hands to do to use the tools or the equipment, scalpel, whatever you call it. And you injure yourself, you either lose a thumb or you have an infection in your hand, or you have whatever it is that might happen to you. A lot of income protection wouldn't actually pay out on that situation, because they would say, well, you're well enough to go and be a GP, or you could still practice medicine in another form, or you could go and be a lecturer, or whatever they may say you can do. Whereas I've put the word own in apostrophes there, because there's classifications under each income protection plan. You have to check your own documents to see what classification it is. But what you're looking for is the word own, because that means it protects you from doing your own job. So irrespective of, you could go do a less skilled part of medicine, it's just if you can't do your own job, so you don't have to go retrain, you don't have to go, you can just claim on the plan based on the illness at the time that's preventing you from working. And that, when I started doing this job many years ago, I couldn't believe that, because I was like, well, why would you not take that out? And there's many reasons for that, but through LifeSearch, we're proud to say that we have an own income protection promise, so you can't get any cover through us, which is not like that. But yeah, that for doctors and surgeons specifically, that is a crucial part of some of the issues we see. In the past, generally speaking, income protection used to cost a lot more. Really, income protection used to be a very difficult plan to do because the underwriting was rough, and there weren't many providers doing it. So I suppose this is not relevant for you, VJ, because obviously you've had yours recently, but certainly if you've got a policy that's probably older than 6, 7, 8 years, the rates at that point would have been a lot higher than the choice on offering on now. And this is the one. This is what you've just said. You just said this, VJ, the example. So a lot of professionals like doctors, surgeons, dentists, physios, they have these, mainly people from medical backgrounds, have insurers like PG Insurance, or Wesleyan is the most common one. And Wesleyan is super expensive. They do go up in price each year. There are often ties to those policies with investments and maturity values, which we know from the past are not always the best way of buying insurance. It used to be, I don't know if your parents ever had cover that had like an investment tied in. They're not really around anymore. It's certainly mainstream. There's just one bank that do it. So yeah, if you've got insurers who you think are specific to your occupation, it's always worth comparing to what another mainstream provider may do, like Legal and General, LV. And the reason for that I'll show you in a couple of slides. But yeah, we're not saying there's anything wrong with, by the way, VJ, you're right what you're saying. Your policy may be absolutely perfect, but what we're trying to do from this PowerPoint and this session is to say, look, it doesn't hurt to get a quote from somebody like us, because we can say to you, keep what you've got, that's fine. We're not here to churn business out like a lot of smaller brokers do. It's not the end of our world if we have to say to you after 10 minutes, look, that's a good plan. You've developed this illness, or you've got a back problem now, just keep that policy. You know what I mean? And that's a unique stance and philosophy of LifeSearch that's not shared elsewhere. Okay. And when we're that honest with our clients, the rest takes care of itself. But yeah, following on from that, in terms of why you would review the plan, just going off the back of that, more choices. Like I said a few years ago, there were only like 3 or 4 like mainstream providers that offered it, but now there's literally every single insurer, LV, Aviva, Legal and General, they offer good quality income protection. It's not just an add-on that it used to be with these main providers. It's the main part of the plan. We'll speak more about this when we come to the Vivek's case study, but your current policy might have an exclusion on. So this is a big problem with income protection claims. And this is why income protection claim statistics might not be at what life insurance claim statistics are. Life insurance claims are about 99%. Okay. The 1% are for people that have lied on the application for like straight lying. So they're smoking, but they said no on the application. They die of a heart attack and they haven't disclosed the diabetes. So it's very, very, very rare that a life insurance claim isn't paid out in 2023. Okay. But with income protection, they are a little bit lower. It's more like 95%, which is still brilliant. I mean, 20 years ago, you'd love that. But, we always want to kind of promote better claim stats, definitely. But one of the reasons why income protection doesn't have that 99% is because of exclusions. And people are ringing up claiming for things that they can't claim on for. This isn't necessarily their fault. It's the fault of the person who arranged the plan, or the fact that you weren't honest on the application. But the biggest exclusion on income protection plans is back injuries, back and neck, and depression, because funnily enough, they're the 2 biggest claims because people have got them. So insurers are so strict on those. If you disclose anything in the last 5 years around mental health, generally speaking, that can, with the wrong provider, cause an exclusion. And sometimes, even as my clients, whether you get it through me or someone else, there's nothing we can do. We just have to explain that at this moment in time, the exclusion is on there. Whether you want to accept that's your choice at the time. But I think if you're honest with the exclusion with the client, you explain to them that this is what happens. But the key thing is that exclusion can be removed. And that's another reason why you might want to review your plan. First of all, to see if there is an exclusion on. But second of all, I've not had any issues with my back for the last 6 years, or I've not had any history of a shoulder problem for the last couple of years. We can reapply and we can overturn that exclusion. And you can then have that peace of mind that if you do have another back injury in the future, or you do have another history of mental health, that you can actually claim on it. And I think that's a very understated thing. We speak about that on our calls with our clients, but like I said, not a lot of brokers do that. Better underwriting philosophies. So if you've been rejected in the past, you should still get a quote now. Especially after COVID. COVID just kind of took insurance back into the dark ages. Illnesses which prevented people from getting covered in the past. Before COVID, they were starting to open up and soften, and people like, for example, people with, I suppose there are some providers now, if you've got type 2 diabetes, you can even get cover. That's a very new introduction. There's only 2 or 3 providers that do that, and you do have to have very good control. But the point is, 10 years ago, if you had diabetes, it was hard to get life insurance. So we're seeing how it's kind of evolving, and through these better kind of underwriting philosophies, just because you got told no in 2013 doesn't mean you're going to get told now. And you could even fast forward that example to you might have just picked the wrong company. If you went to apply for Legal and General 2 years ago and they said no, you're thinking everyone's going to say no. That's not the case at all. So we'll discuss this with Vivek a little bit more, but back in the day, we used to say all insurers are the same. They all do this, they all do that. You can't really get it wrong. That's what we used to say as advisors. Fast forward to now, that's not the case at all. In fact, it's a complete opposite. Each insurer has their own host of benefits and free benefits that are included as standard. Some are better than others. So it's about picking the right company, not who's best for us. We're not an affiliate. We've got 26 providers that we can choose from. But here you can see some of the most popular ones that people have reacted well to. Income protection now includes children's critical illness with some of the providers. Not all of them. Not all of them. But income protection, including children's critical illness, might make you think, well, why do I need my own critical illness policy? Because if I've got critical illness for my kids on my income protection, obviously that's for another day, debating whether critical illness is better than income protection. That's the age-old debate in protection, which we don't have to go into now. But it does make you think, if you've got the children's illness on your income protection, that could save you money on your critical illness plan you don't actually need anymore. Virtual GPs and prescription services, these have gone through the roof. I don't know if anyone is a GP or anyone has any contractual work with these type of services through like Helping Hand and GP24. They're some of the companies that the insurers use. But if you can't get in with your own GP, you can actually phone up some insurers and they'll arrange for a GP consultation that day. And these have we always get these rolled out to us when we think, oh, that's going to be a novelty act, but then 2-3 years later they're showing us the claim stats of how many of our clients are using these services. My partner's used the GP service herself. Second opinion services, counselling, physio sessions, fracture cover, these are all things that just come as standard. You're not having to pay extra for if you go with the right company. It just comes as standard. So yeah, they're all reasons why. And obviously the easiest reason why you might need to change is because your current policy doesn't pay out enough. That's just, you can apply that to life insurance, apply it to critical illness. If you're only covered for 1,500 a month and your outgoings are now 2,500 a month, it's you can do the math on that. You might need to look into that. So just before we go into the case study, this is something that's specific to you guys, because I assume most of you are medically, doctors, from what Vivek said, from Serene Doctors. I know most of you are employed by the NHS in some form. So there are some insurers, not all, that offer specific benefits to the life of a doctor, or what your life or what your day-to-day working life might need. So the first one, and this is the most popular one, this is the one that's just come out this benefit only came out probably 3-4 years ago, and that's a drop in the ocean in the course of a 30-year life of an insurer. But there are some insurers now that will pay out when you drop to half pay. Okay, so if you're new to the NHS, you don't get the full sick pay allowance. These plans offer very, very competitive premiums, but they will still pay out after when you drop to half pay. So, for example, on an income protection plan, VJ, you might know about this because you've recently set yours up. But on an income protection plan, you have what we call a deferment period. This is the amount of time you have to wait before your money is paid out to you. Okay, so for example, you can choose. You can do a 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. So the longer that period is, the cheaper the premium. So for doctors who have got a little bit more complexity to their sick pay, NHS like to make things complicated, as you know, that can almost be difficult because square peg round hole, what do? I can't afford to live on half pay, but I don't want to pay for a 6-month deferment period. So that was a big issue that we were having as advisors because people were either overpaying or they were undercovered. But there's a handful of insurers now that will only charge you for a 12-month waiting period, so the lowest premium. But let's say you drop to half pay after 3 months, they'll pay out half the claim then. So it saves you an absolute fortune. It really, without me showing you the quotes, you wouldn't believe. And yet there are still doctors, surgeons who are waiting 12 months for a claim. So that's the biggest one we're trying to promote right now. But I looked at some of the other benefits that maybe we don't speak to on every call about these benefits. But I suppose for you guys, you might be looking at this now thinking that would be something that would have been great for me 10 years ago. But one of the issues that income protection has is certain providers don't cover you abroad. You have to check your own terms and conditions on this. Every insurer is different, but we've got access to insurers that do provide flexibility if you are ending up in a position where you're working in, they'll cover you anywhere in the world. There are some countries where you're only covered for a limited amount of time. Obviously, if we do have a conversation, uniquely one-to-one, then we would obviously go through that with you. But the point is, let's say you go to a placement over at a university in America, or you're working at a hospital like that, you no longer have to cancel the plan. You used to have to do, not anymore. It will cover you there. So I thought maybe for you guys that might be useful. I know you're going to ask about India because I know obviously I've done these ones before, and obviously a lot of you have big connections there still. So with India, it falls under you can claim there, by the way, but it only for a limited amount of time. Okay, so they'll pay out a 6-month claim, which is still very good. It still gives you enough time to hopefully come back if you're planning on being here long term, and that's only if you are there when you make a claim. Obviously, if you claim here and obviously you want to, I've been asked before, well, what happens if I have a serious illness in the UK and I want to go back and I want to live in India, and I want to live there? They will still pay the claim out. It just needs to be paid into the UK bank account. This particular bit here is for if you're working overseas. Okay, so that's a common question that we get a lot. And if you've got any more questions on that later on, we can come back to that one. And sabbatical breaks as well. So if anyone's wanting just to kind of do retrain or thinking about doing something else, thinking about doing something else for a couple of years, traveling or whatever it is you're having to do, look after your parents or whatever it is you're doing. Traditionally, as harsh as it may sound, in the past, if you weren't working and didn't have enough evidence to provide a claim, you'd have to cancel the plan. But some of the insurers now will offer you sabbatical breaks where you can keep the policy while you're doing something else. So all these little benefits are things where you think, I can't believe they don't offer them as standard, but they don't, and that's why it does get. That's why in the past they have maybe had a little bit of bad press, but there is never a better time to buy income protection. I can tell you that. And also, I didn't know if this would be a useful example, but there's one insurer now, an insurer that we use a lot. They must think it's, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought there were a lot of people nowadays getting HIV from needle sticks, but it is on the website. They do promote this one particular insurer. It's Liverpool Victoria that removed the HIV exclusion from their plans. So if anyone is, maybe thinking that, it gives them a little bit peace of mind. But yeah, that's kind of the reasons why that hopefully there's enough kind of fuel on the fire there to kind of make you think, you know what, I want to look at my plan. I want to have a look at the first thing I want to do today or tomorrow is I want to look at my documents. As a very minimum, at least know where your documents are. In the last couple of years, it's all online now. So your documents are emailed. They have online portals. Please, if it's one thing you do, make sure you have access to them. You tell your families who your policy's with. All these things that we don't like speaking about insurance. We don't like speaking about what happens if we claim. Please do that because you might not be claiming, you might have been in a serious accident. It's good to tell your partners where the plan is and stuff. And, from there, hopefully you have a little bit of interest in it and you can look at your plan and think, you know what, I maybe need to review mine. But I think that's a good time now, Vivek, to maybe bring our special guest in. This is something that someone that does a lot of these presentations, we don't always have this luxury of having. Vivek was a client before we had this kind of partnership with Serene, and it was client first. So it's an absolute rarity, I would say, to to be able to do what we're about to do here. So Vivek, I've done enough rambling on there. If you want to come in now and obviously just share a little bit about your experience and about some of the points that you've just heard to kind of show that these things do happen, don't they?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. That was impressive, and as always. Okay, so I met Joe before COVID came on horizon, but just few months before that, something like September 2019, September, October, something like that. So I bought my first house, and obviously, you have to take care of all the protections, covers, insurances. And I don't know how I bumped, but I bumped into Joe. And of course, I compared the policies with the market and the offers he was quoting, found it competitive. And of course, he told me what all things are there, and he said he will do a good job. I like the way he said. Of course, I was cross-checking simultaneously whatever other quotes I was getting and comparing with what he was providing, which I could see, which was quite diligent in the research. And it was like, making my life easy because he is not working for a particular insurance company because they work for like Amazon. Like, you have all the products on the platform, and somebody instead of me is choosing what will suit best for my circumstances and will offer me the best they think or second best, whatever, and tailor make it if anything be possible further without me going through the hassle. So I like that way, which decrease my engagement and time investment in that. And I ended up having the covers for life as well as income as well. And at that point of time, and one thing before I go into income protection specifically, he also shared that if anything happens to you, Vivek, the only thing your family needs to do is just call me. All your UK policies, which are coming through me and which you have already bought, which was not through me, they all are put in one place, and I will make sure they will not have any hassle if you pass away. So that's something which was quite one good thing I liked about it. Somebody taking that kind of responsibility and the service being part of the whole package as a complementary thing. And of course, on the top was the trust one can have. You can create a trust for the policy also, which is separate to the normal trust you make otherwise, which was also offered to me, which I have created for only my insurance policies, me and my wife. So that were two extra advantages. So now coming to income protection, I took a policy as deeming fit at that point and situation. There was an exclusion which I felt was obnoxious, but anyway, I can't change the perceptions. But otherwise, the policy was the best in the market, except for the exception. So I took the policy. Fine, I knew that this is a wrong exception they are putting in, but you can't contest some things because that's their choice. It's not you who is giving the policy, it is them. So anyway, I continued with the policy, and it was kind of on increasing rate year on year basis because of the inflation kept into that, and which I took it at that point of time in that way. Then 2003, so basically 5 years down the line. And I, revamping my portfolios or looking into my Indian insurance portfolios, which are NAV linked, and they are also, they get profit. So I was kind of revisiting them and switching some funds out of them to the new policies. So I thought, and I discussed this with Joe, I'm doing that. And obviously, I was not thinking doing anything to the policies in the UK. But then Joe suggested, do you want me to look at your income protection policy? Because I was mentioning, I think I'm paying a bit more than I expected at this point of time. Okay, my premiums are slightly going up every year. My protection is also going up accordingly. But still, I don't know if I'm paying more than I should be, because I'm not going to get anything back if nothing happens to me. That's the kind of situation compared to my Indian policies. So he said, let me have a look at it again. I said, go on. That won't cost me anything. And he came out with a policy in which the exclusion which was made by the previous policy was out. I said, wow, that's interesting. I'm interested in. Let's talk more. And it's bringing my premium price down by 30-40 pounds roughly per month, which is a big amount. And I'm getting all the cover in the same way. On the top, the previous policy which I had was having a 1 year period before it kickstarts off. But this policy will kickstart after 6 months. So it is bringing that duration to lesser amount if I am not able to work. Instead of waiting for 1 year, it's less than half the time of the previous policy, 6 months only. Now, exclusion gone, time shortened, money saved, 3 benefits. So I went ahead with that policy. However, they put another exclusion, which is fine because I've got some reflux, we all get in A&E, which is also sorted, which I had for some short time. But that was within last 5 years. So they put it, and of course, I'm going to revisit it if this reflux problem does not come, because I'm taking good precautions and I know what did I do wrong and my food habits and health wise. So that will be taken care of, I believe, if I consider renewing or reviewing my policy after 3-4 years again and see what it is. Of course, I have also made one more change, that I made it fixed also, so that it does not go increasing year on year. But that is because my portfolio is like that, because I decided that I am investing in overseas policies in India, where the money will come back to me also. So I'm compensating that inflation linked stuff by taking some different kind of risk in a different geography and economy. And life is all about taking risks, assessing risk and deciding how much and your capacity to overcome your fears. Which is what, we call it spiritual thing, but that is what the life is all about. It's all same side of the same coin. So I balance it in that way, because the money I pay here will not return to me if nothing happens to me, but the money over there will come back to me if nothing happens to me. So, it's a balance. And if something happens to me, this money will come, and the other policies are there as well, depending on what happens. So things will grow, and if I survive, then I will get my income from income protection. I will get from my investments if they continue to grow, with the Indian story being promising. Now they are planning to go to Venus as well, which I was reading today. That's the next planet the space mission is going to happen for. So it's all about internal space, external space, learning from what is happening outside and learning from what is happening inside, and then playing with your financial space, which is all this seminar about. And this is my story. And if I miss something, Joe, please chip in.
No, that's fantastic. It's nice to, obviously, Vivek never really kind of knew anything about insurance before he's spoken to LifeSearch, and it's nice to kind of hear a client of 5-6 years kind of relay stuff so perfectly. Just 2 points. The first thing about the portfolio of insurance, that's something that Vivek wanted. We wouldn't expect that, nor would we normally do that. It's just Vivek wanted all his insurance in one place, so he signed authority over. That's only if you want us to do that, but there's no real need for that. So you don't be thinking that's part of the service. If I don't want this lad to have my AIG policy from 2022, or that's absolutely fine. The trust is to avoid inheritance tax. So if you do want advice on life insurance and you want advice on inheritance tax, that's all something we can do. In terms of the exclusion, you couldn't have asked for a better example. Obviously, the new plan does have an exclusion on, but he talks, Vivek talks about balancing there, and obviously for data protection we can't say what the exclusion was, but he did use the word obnoxious, and that's actually a good description of it. Was these insurers, we have to play by their rules. So we say, right, okay, well, they're going to exclude this. I can look at other companies that won't exclude it, but they might charge you 3 times the cost. So these are all balancing acts and debates that we'll have with yourself. It's your choice, your policy at the end of the day. But in Vivek's case, that obnoxious exclusion was removed, and it was, some people say, it was removed and it was replaced, but it wasn't, because the exclusion that was put on this new plan, as he said, he's told you what it was for, is an acid reflux, basically one. That's not really an exclusion that would be concerned, but the one that was on before would be. So yeah, that can often be the case. But hopefully hopefully people listening to this now are thinking, it doesn't cost anything to review your plan. It's literally, we don't come round to your house. We're not that type of old-fashioned insurance salesperson. It is really a simple process to get a quote. If you do want a quotation, and you do think, I want this lad to have a look at our cover and just see where we're at with it, we can review the whole thing for you as well. Often if you've got life insurance and you're not sure about that, we'll give you free impartial advice. My details are here. You just need to contact me, message me out, whatever's easiest for you guys. I think Vivek's gonna send out my details. He's got he must have your email. Is that still the case, Vivek? Unless they tell you otherwise, you're going to send my email on to the people on this call. Is that correct?
Yeah, I will send a mail which you will send to me. I will forward that to all the people who have attended, and if they are keen to discuss anything further or stay in touch with you, that will be entirely their choice.
Okay. And Anusha, Vijay, we've done a lot of talking there, always is the case as well, all the way from the PowerPoints over the years. But do you have any kind of anything that we've said today where you think, no, that's not my experience, or where maybe it's something that's not made sense, or is there anything that you'd like to maybe go back to, or do you have any thoughts, feedback? I mean, there's only on the call, so it's just been interesting to see, in this personal space, what your thoughts were on the PowerPoint and what you've heard today.
Yeah, before we open the question answer session, I just want to share something interesting with you. That's for my personal experience, how perceptions work out. Around 10, 11 years back, I was told that I should consider going back to India at workplace. Not made for NHS. Okay, I was not a consultant that time, obviously. So I am now a consultant for last 6 years plus. I was also said, would you be okay to go on a communication skills course? I said, of course, I'm always open for learning. And but it was asked in a kind of a bit sheepish manner, so I don't understand why it was like that. But it's open to your interpretation. Anyway, I went for that course. I became a trainer in that course. I went for further advanced courses, and which was by the best person of this country, who is internationally famed for the Calgary Cambridge Guide, the co-author of that. And learning things from that, getting very good feedbacks, what I got further trained into. I also was instrumental and had the opportunity to set up these courses and trainings in India, and Medical Council of India invited me for a presentation on this topic, and we did many workshops for a good number of years before COVID. So in the same way, I was also told off by the previous provider that this is the exclusion we have to apply, and where we are now, that is taken care of. I was also told that I am having stress. Somebody was telling me 10, 11 years back, and trying to prove that by kind of a full kind of a symptomatology of that, and trying to pin me down. When I was feeling actually chilled inside, I said, this is being imposed on me. But anyway, what happened that I am as you all know, leading many well-being projects, helping people to be aware of stress actually and how to handle it with various techniques and process, be it from the field of yoga and art of living. So, people will perceive and speak and say things about you and try to even impose things on you. And given the power positions in the life, you have to just sometime keep quiet, because you can't say yes, and of course you can't say no also, because of the equations which they are there. But what you can do, that knowing yourself, remaining unshakable with whatever being is thrown on you, you can move forward and excel in that field. If you think you want to know more about why and how they said it, and take that as actually an opportunity to build up your portfolio in that area, not to prove them wrong, which has been in my case in initial years, but actually for your own self development. Because I became a doctor like that to begin with, when I was being laughed about in year 11, 12, and also laughed about that I will become a brigadier in army. But I joined Armed Forces Medical College, and if I had stayed with the army, I would have been a brigadier by now, or becoming a brigadier by now. And of course, I became a doctor as well, and I was laughed on all those two accounts. But actually, that time my ego helped me to move on to that direction with kind of whatever anger. But actually, I'm thankful to all those people, because they brought out the skills in me which I would may have not pushed myself beyond the zone of comfort. So this is all about the kind of space. And before we open the further question answer session, I will also like to show you a very small video, just 1 minute, what it is. And I will stop sharing screen from Joe so that I can show that to you. Can you stop sharing the screen, my friend? Okay, and then of course I'll put one link which I put in the WhatsApp group, and I would genuinely request you, because this is what I've spoken to you, some personal life experiences and examples are the ones which we all go through in one way or other in life, which is important to know about, and and actually much bigger than anything else in the life, because that's what life is all about. And I'm just now sharing this video. Can you see a lady standing on the screen, Joe?
No,
No.
nothing on there.
You can't see anything on the I'm sharing the screen. Can you hear it now?
Good morning, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, and can you see something, this lady?
We can't.
Can you see a small video coming on your screen?
No, just see you.
Just seeing me, my face, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, what is happening? Let me just see. Is it okay? 1 second.
We could hear something, but we've not been able to see anything. Try again, Vivek.
Yes, give me a moment. There we are. Can you see now?
Good morning, everyone.
No, we can hear that good morning, but nothing's visible.
Okay, so what I will do is, we'll do it a different way then. What I will do is, I will play from my phone, which I'll put it in close to the screen so that you can see it as well. So I'm stopping sharing the screen, and I am going to my camera, and I'm playing the video in a moment. Give me 1 moment. Yeah, there we are.
Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you to celebrate this wonderful day. Gurudev, thank you so much for your vision, your leadership, and your outstanding choice to come to Washington, D.C.
Such a pleasure. All of us here have to states in America. Our sport was protected. We have to spread the message of our in a world where there is crisis that we are facing. It's timely for us to come together. Celebration and honor our diversity. Welcome. Last month of this. So the message is that we are all of us one.
So I'm pleased to share that as a UK, we are contributing financial support as a country to this World Cultural event, which you have just witnessed a glimpse of, and you are all most invited to consider the last weekend of this month. The tickets are free of cost. You can just go online, and if you have face any problem, come to me. But you can book the tickets and be there. Just you need your flights and stay arrangements to be sorted. That's all. The big agenda in this is that the top leaders of the world are coming. Many have confirmed, and many will not confirm but will be there because of security reasons, as you can imagine and understand. And the big issue which will be discussed behind the scenes is mental health, which is a big pandemic all over the world, and we are seeing the impact and effect of it. And of course, climate change. These are the major issues behind the festival happening, and you can be a part of it or relate to people and meet people there. And this is a historical event happening in our lifetimes. Of course, my request also to you will be, because we are helping the financially, and we have already raised more than 80,000 pounds in just last 1 month, and our aim is 100,000, which of course we will surely surpass. But I will be very grateful if which I will put the link for contributing whatever you feel, your generosity for One World Family, for helping us with this agenda to make it more further successful. Whatever you think you can contribute for the efforts, energy and time we have put in, not for anything for us but for the big world family. So I will now open the house for any questions, queries, comments to all of you, and there is something in the chat box as well for Joe to see.
Yeah, well, I don't know, Anusha, I just saw initially you went on off mute, so I didn't know if it was if you had a question or if you were just off on mute.
Sorry, Joe. I think this was question more to Vivek at the last because I wanted to know more details about the Indian policy. Obviously, I got all the presentation and it was a fantastic presentation. And I might reach out to you.
Yeah. Well, feel free to ask Vivek about the Indian policy. What it's absolutely fine to do that if you want to do it now.
Yeah, so what I will say is, of course, feel free to reach out. It's all with Tata AIA, and we will invite the gentleman who is like a friend of our, like now, as we have Joe here, who is helping out with me this with policies, and I will do a similar kind of case presentation with him in the same way, the way we have done today, and I will fix up the dates, and we will do the case study in the same way of various policies I have for me and my family, and now for my son as well. And he will share the nitty gritty as Joe has shared today.
Thank you so much.
It's on. I just seen the chat box, and I've not seen that, so I do apologise. But I don't think I've missed that much. But yeah, it says about the taxation of it. So yeah, with critical illness and income protection payments, should you go on to make a claim, they are all paid out free of any type of tax. Okay, so it's what you see is what you get. With that's all through us. I can't comment on current plans. It depends on how that is. That's for like the mainstream providers that we do. 100% tax free. The life insurance, the only taxation that can hit the life insurance if you've got life cover, just give yourself a little bit of added insight while we're on the subject of tax, is inheritance tax is a big problem with life insurance. So there are quite stringent taxation laws on inheritance in the UK. Yeah, that's another conversation altogether. But there are ways and means you can kind of put provisions in place for life insurance. If that's something you would like to look at, just feel free to message us as well. I'm not just an income protection specialist. We can deal with all types of protection, which is normally how the story goes with these referrals, to be fair. But yeah, completely free of tax on that one.
Sorry, yeah, carry on, Joe.
I was going to say, like VJ, does any obviously good because some of the points in there, you obviously are a living example of that as well. But did any of that kind of make you think, actually, you know what, I might have a look at maybe my current plan and how that fares up to maybe an offering elsewhere with it being so recent? Because obviously the rates are still good, but what did hopefully didn't put you on the back foot?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you feel about it all?
It made me think. I've got to ask the company about whether they take into account rental income. So let's say some of us can't work, but we've still got rental income. Is that taken into account?
100%. So with so with critical illness and life insurance, There's no underwriting financially, so you can take as much out to a certain degree as you like. With income protection, it's completely different because the amount that you can insure is 60 to 70% normally, depending on which insurer, of your income, so your total gross income earned. So you can't just insure however much you want. It has to be, you know, compliant to your provable earnings. So when people have additional income sources, whether that's through another business, an investment, rentals, we will calculate that into the amount of cover that you qualify for if you are wanting to push the maximum you can get. So some people we speak to will just cover their share of the bills. So if your bills are 3,000 a month, then you protect 3,000. Other people that we speak to want to look and think, well, if I'm claiming on this plan beyond 6 months or beyond 12 months, there's a good chance that I'm never going to go back. So I want to maximize the amount of my income that I can protect. And that's obviously case by case. That's what we would do on a fact find. And we would obviously make sure that if you are taking a policy out, and it's not just us checking it, like when you apply, I was saying this to someone the other day, when you apply to these plans, LV, Aviva, all, we look at 26 providers, it's a proper proposal that's sent over to them. And if there are any grey areas with the application, the finance side of it, it'll come up on the application checks, and the underwriter will email us, and we'll all email you or write to you, and it's checked out. But yeah, with let's say, for example, you earn 100,000 a year, okay, and you wanted to insure 3,000 a month, you are nowhere near the threshold of 60%. So your rental income, no, it depends on how much the rental income is. That's why it's difficult to give these examples, because it's all case by case. Some people's rental income is just used to kept in another company. So it's all case by case, but ultimately they do look at your total yearly earnings. So it depends on where that's coming from, but what that is actually being used for at the end of the day as well. But yeah, it depends on your case, but it's worth checking anyway. You're right.
Let me ask, you mentioned you can only insure yourself for 60 or 70% of your income.
Yeah.
Is that 60 or 70% of your gross income or your net income? Gross income. So if someone earns £100,000, for example, gross, they could get a policy, a critical an illness protection policy that gives them 60,000 a year.
Yeah. So the higher, so the threshold, the higher you earn, the less of that they'll insure. So for example, 100,000. Yeah. 100,000. I know, because I speak to a lot of doctors, and they often earn around 100 to 150,000. A 50-year-old consultant will normally fall into that bracket. Okay. Right. So I know that, again, speaking generally on behalf of 26 providers, I know that you could quite easily cover anywhere between 5,000 to 7,000 a month, no problem. Right. Because there are some insurers, like I mean, it's not secret information, but I'll give you a quick example. Aviva, they are not very good at covering the higher percentage of income, if that makes sense. So if you start to put in that you earn over 100,000, when you look at the quote results, it won't always cover you for as much as maybe a good provider is LV. LV have an appetite for doctors, as you can probably, do you know a lot of them benefits that I put on this last slide? A lot of them are oriented to like LV and Legal and General, so they've got more of an appetite for higher income earners, and you've got insurers that have got an appetite for maybe, you know, a self-employed electrician. Does that make sense? So it's all about insurer placement. But yeah, if you're somebody who's saying to me, look, I want to cover the maximum I can get of my income as a doctor. And that's the other thing as well, is like what an insurer might say as well, your rentals, you know, what we say as advisors is like your rentals still coming in anyway. So you won't want to insure that part of your income, because it's gonna keep coming in. If you're off, it's just the income earned through being a doctor that's at risk. So how that presides itself is this. Let's say your bills are 7,000 a month, okay, but your income from the rental is 2,000. So we'd insure you, we'd advise maybe 5,000.
Yeah.
So the premium won't be as much. So that's what we do on a fact find. So it's not necessarily ringing up saying what can I cover. It's not really. It's how much. It's what do you need.
Okay. And let me ask, in the event of a claim, you said the policies are not financially underwritten, and that's what happened with me. They just gave me the policy. In the event of a claim, do they ask you to prove your income to confirm that you are claiming no more than 60 or 70%?
Yeah. So it's so yeah, you're right. When you apply, just tell them whatever
Yeah.
you want. They won't check it. Sometimes they do. If you're applying for a big policy,
Yeah.
you know, they'll get you on the treadmill and they'll ask for your bank account details and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But you'd have to. That's a massive policy that. But yeah, for the standard policy that you guys might be looking at, it's it's literally in the event of a claim, they'll ask for your it varies from one insurer to the next, but a stock answer to that question is they want to know what you've been earning over the last 3 years. So that's what they will ask for to start with. But that's difficult. You know, you might have lived in India for one of the years. You know, you might only have started working for the NH. So there are big grey areas around that. And some insurers are awful to you. We see it because we work with them. Some insurers are just like, no, can't take cover out. We won't even accept your application because you haven't got 3 years worth of books, as they say.
Right.
But there are other insurers that have a much more tolerant approach to like saying, okay, well, you've not worked here for 3 years and you're relatively new to this industry. We will guarantee you £1,500 a month as long as you can provide that you've been working full time for the last 12 months. Now, that's called income protection guarantee. That's a new concept. They all offer it. Normally, it's around £1,500. So basically, what that means is no underwriting for the first 1,500. So if your partner or if you've just started working and you don't have that necessarily evidence or history of earnings, there are like Plan B and Plan Cs, but they will. Insurers aren't looking to get out of a claim. They will, if they can't get the last 3 years, they'll say, okay, can you show us the last year, the last 2 years, that kind of thing. Obviously, if you turn on a fact find, if a client said, look, I've just started working in the UK last year, some clients we have to say, look, you have to come back to us in a year's time. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there are some non-underwritten policies that we can use in the short term. So again, kind of going unique examples, which I don't like doing because I think confuse you. But ultimately, there is a policy for everyone, but also there are rules as well. I don't think for you guys, you fall into that bracket. But yeah, when you come to make a claim, you will be, or not expected, you have to prove that what you are paying for. And the big issue is, if you can't, they'll still pay out, but they won't pay out as much and they won't return the premiums.
Yeah.
So this is a big issue. So it's like, yeah, you've paid for 4,000 a month, but you can only prove 2,000. We've been charging you £150 a month, but we're only paying out what it would have cost for £60 a month. So we check every policy. We claim, you see. So it's like no point in us setting up a plan that isn't going to work because it's a big headache for us when we come to claim. So you know, all calls are recorded. It's all done properly, but yeah, they want to pay out these insurers. They don't know. It's a myth. That's a myth. People think they don't want to pay out, but they do. But that's how it works. Hopefully that answers your question there. Good question, to be fair. It has to be right. But yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
wonderful presentation.
Yeah, no, appreciate your time, but it was nice that both of you on it because obviously, sounds like, you know, if you drop me an email or whatever, and you're interested in getting a quote. Like I said, for VJ, you've got a policy already. You know, it takes 10 minutes, and obviously, you know, you'd be surprised really. But does your premium? Did you get advice or did you set yourself?
I looked online. I might have got advice. I took it out in 2020. So it was 3-4 years ago. And I've just looked. I'm aware that my only issue with my current policy is the premium is not static.
Yeah, that's common with
so
Wesleyan.
I will be in touch. So that's one thing for people who have yet to take out a policy to consider. Do you want a static premium, or do you want a premium that will increase annually?
Yeah. Well, the final thing on the back of why those policies exist, we obviously deal with it a lot. Not so much now, but every other doctor we spoke to when I first started doing this job had Wesleyan cover. And the reason for that is because you couldn't insure yourself as a doctor. You could only get a certain type of classification. I don't know if you remember this. This is a general knowledge question on the PowerPoint. But on the second slide, I said about covering yourself against your own job.
Yeah.
So like there was a big space of time in the past where it was very difficult to get doctors approved. So obviously you had these specialist providers coming in and, you know, kind of getting contracts with the NHS on notice boards in the hospitals, and you just kind of think, well, that's the right one. Yeah, that must be the right one. Do you know what I mean? And they are still about, but not quite as heavily as they once was. But now, like I said, the mainstream providers will protect you against your own duties, which is obviously crucial, because I'm not going to want to go and retrain, are you? As maybe you do, but you know, you can still insure yourself partially if you do that. That's a benefit of most of the providers. If you want to go and if you can only go back to work because of your illness, half pay or half, you know, on a what do you call it, a part-time contract, the insurer will still pay out, but they'll just work with you to pay out a top-up amount. That's called rehabilitation benefit. That, so there's loads of cool features. Speak all day about it, but hopefully let you get back to your Sundays and giving you an appetite to look into it.
Thank you.
Can
Thank you,
I
Vivek.
just ask one question,
Yeah, of
please?
course.
With a gross salary of about 100,000 per year,
Yep.
and with the expenses or bills payout of about 3,000 per month,
Yep.
what would be the cost of the income protection insurance every month?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. That is,
It's just roughly approximate.
how old? It's all age driven.
Okay. So it can vary from.
I honestly, it's just impossible. I can't.
Okay.
I can't answer that question, because trying to relate it back to it's like picking a needle in an haystack. It could cost.
Okay.
It depends on your height and weight. It depends on your travel. It depends on your parents' health. Depends on, you know, whether you're a surgeon, a doctor, or a you know, it depends. But like I said, without trying to sound too smooth, if you email me afterwards, I can send you. But like I said, it's non-obligated quotes anyway, by the way, so you don't have to go ahead with it. It's just a quote.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much.
No worries. Yeah, thank you for your time, Anusha. Anyway, hopefully it's been helpful. Hope to speak to you again.
It is. Yes. Thank you.
We must look at your face, Anusha, so that we can relate to you before we say bye-bye.
Oh, yes. There we go.
Cheerful. So I hope you enjoyed the session, but you have any questions, you have contact of Joe, and I will email also one off, and
Sure.
then feel free to get more things. And it's interesting knowledge, and I'm also learning about it. And of course, I made my policy static value, not inflationary link anymore this time, and I took it because I thought, why not take a bit of risk by putting that extra money, putting in here, put in India story, which is going on, because I'm definitely going to get something back, which gives me investment return as well as insurance cover as well on that side. So, you know, it's a kind of balancing the portfolio, making it wider and more eggs in different kind of places. That's how I'm playing with. And Joe knows about it. Joe has met that man as well. We had a previous session. And we'll have it again with Tata, and Joe is asking me if we can invest there as well.
I'll try it.
Well, it's going to be similar for me as well. Yes, that's why.
And unfortunately, only OCIs and Indian passport holders are allowed at this point of time. But that's where we are. So yeah, and anything else anybody wants to say before we close the session?
I went to an Indian Independence Day conference, believe it or not, a few months back. Well, it would have been last month, July. When is it? In Warrington, and I was blown away by this. It was all about the Indian economy, and I was thinking, my man Vivek said I can. Obviously, I didn't. I was thinking, now I know what he's on about. I was like, you know, you'll talk about the economy and all the spaceships, and I was like, obviously, I'm like an adopted Indian guy now, out of Vivek for you. So it's if they change the rules, I'll be the first at the front of the queue for that investment.
So India is in external space and in internal space. Both spaces are being looked into by different scientists of Indian side.
Yeah.
ISRO and Art of Living for internal space, ISRO for external space.
Definitely. Well, 80% of my clients are Indian, so that's so I'm the last 3 years I've really kind of embraced the culture and learned a lot from, like, you know, just the way just the way the culture is. It's just blown my mind. Do you know what I mean? It's just an amazing culture. But
and we are missing on the financial space. So Joe Lawrence is filling the gap of the financial space for us.
yeah. But
pilot
yeah,
project.
you know where I am anyway. If you need anything from me, obviously, hopefully I'll speak to you soon, Anusha. If you just
Lovely.
just drop me a WhatsApp or something. You don't have to, just see
Sure.
where we go from there. Don't have to be. If you want an official quote, then obviously I'll do it on one evening, whatever. But just drop me a message. just
Sure.
whatever, and I've got your details whenever you're ready. All right.
All right. Thank you very so much.
Take
Okay,
care.
Thank you,
on
Vivek.
that
Thank
note,
you.
everybody have a lovely Sunday and thanks for joining us all. And I'll
See ya.
stop my recording now.